Hi and welcome. Welcome to Story Time. I want to talk today about self-care and the true story behind the practice of intentional self-care. It's not that this is a complicated topic. It's not. It's actually quite simple. It's about doing the things that we need in order to care and love for our most important and valuable tool, our being, our body, our mind, our spirit. And yet, as someone who has dedicated my life to service and even defined my life's work, my dharma, as one who supports others in their self-care routine by way of yoga, yes. The truth is, I often forget that the priority has to be maintaining my self-care. Like I said, this is not rocket science, and yet it requires specific strategies, almost tricks that I use to hijack my own base system, right? What I mean by that is I like to get shit done. I like to be efficient. I like to work. In fact, truth is, I'm a bit of a workaholic. I like to think of myself as a recovering workaholic in that I am successfully integrating more self-care practices into the manner in which I live, work, and play. Let me give you a couple examples, right? So around me, here I am in my studio, actually in the coaching room upstairs. Right off here is the treatment room. So the irony here is that while I make plenty of space in my schedule and in my studio to do this deeper one-on-one work, I also have to remind myself to receive this same kind of work. Time to chill, to receive touch, to be in the practice of listening to my innermost whisperings. So how do I do that? Well, I've got reminders built into my phone that literally help me tick off accomplishments that I've chosen to prioritize. Now, part of the challenge with that is that there's so many ways in which I want to grow and strengthen my practices. Not just those that are fundamental to my self-care, but those that are critical to the way in which I serve and reach those who need my work. But prioritizing is about focus. It's about attention. And in order for me to do this, right, I've got my water handy because honestly, this is probably the hardest thing for me to remember, particularly when I am in active service. I led a mini retreat this weekend, all day on Saturday. Do you know that I got to the end of the retreat and all the way home and sitting for a moment of relaxation before dinner, before I realized that I had gone the entirety of the day without drinking any water? I'm a huge advocate of water. I love to drink water. And yet, because my attention was directed to the care and holding space for my retreat participants, I stopped listening to my inner guide, remembering to drink water. So I had my phone. I keep water handy. But here's the key component that I think is often missing when it comes to our self-care. Because yes, self-care is fundamentally a personal responsibility. We have to accept ownership for that duty, that task, that discipline. And yet, especially when we are learning the specifics of our practice, what we need, the number one resource we need is a circle, a partner, a community to help keep us on the path, to keep us in the practice. We're all going to fall off once in a while. We're all going to forget to take a drink of our own sweet Kool-Aid, right? Our own sweet lessons that we know to do. But we also need to learn how to accept help. My failing on Saturday was not about not drinking water. That I know that that's part of how I often get lost in the heat of things. My failing was forgetting to ask for help, to remember to drink the water. So that by the time I got home, the second thing, first was a greeting and a hello from my loving partner. The second thing was, did you drink? Do you need some water to rehydrate? And of course, yes, that's what was a big part of my need, but also the receiving of someone else helping to pay attention to my wellness. And that's really the irony here, is that self-care, now I teach, in fact, 10 practices of self-care, which I didn't originate. They actually came to me years ago by way of a research article document that I was reading. This, in fact, was so long ago, I don't even know the source of that research anymore. But those 10 principles, those 10 practices have been tweaked and molded and shifted, all based on the root core, but showing up in my daily life. And then specifically being taught through the practices that I teach, the workshops that I lead, the programs that I create in order to help my students live more authentically. Yes, in greater alignment, absolutely, but also vibrantly to live well. So yes, we have to take personal responsibility for what we do, but also personal responsibility for cultivating a circle of support. One hand, that's all we need. It's really the holding of that core group. If you've got 5 people that you can call upon and ask for help, 5 people that you are willing to pay attention to give your love and help, you have got an awesome foundation for this practice of living transparent alignment. If you don't have a team of 5, what can we do to help expand and deepen the relationships or reach out for some new relationships so that you can have this handful, this extension of your heart, both to give and to receive? Now, that's not to say that we can't have more friends and contacts than that 5. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have to focus. We have to focus on our priorities, what we can manage. And for me, that's 10 practices and help and remembering to do the simple things like hydrating, like showing up, like inviting people who I'm close to or I have a strong commitment to, asking them to hold me accountable, right? For example, I got a message on Friday, a reminder to do a task that was a task to benefit me in asking for others' support. But I failed to do it. So the person I was intending to ask for help reminded me to do that. Do you see what I'm saying here? Is that when we create this circle of energy, that's what helps hold us in this tender space of becoming, of honoring our self-care authentically, in truth, so that we can do it poorly in order to then remember how to do it well. What does your self-care look like? And how can you create a system, a circle of behaviors, of reminders, of people to help you begin again as often as necessary in doing the practices that help you live well, that help you live your best life? And that begins by maintaining a wellness in your body, mind, and spirit. There really is no accident that if we try to overserve, if we try to give more than we have, we will deplete our resources of time, money, energy, even desire. Have you ever been to that point where you just don't wanna, even though what it is you're being invited or asked to do is something of value and worth and part of who you be? This is a really good indication that you're experiencing some burnout. It's time to take a break, to take some space, to withdraw energy perhaps from the outward flow and let it be returned inward. And this might even require you to ask for help. Help so that you can get some time away. Help perhaps delegating tasks that don't need to be done by you. Help redefining what it looks like to live well. Shifting some of perhaps old stories that are no longer or never were true. Our circle, our coach, our teachers and our guides. These are the spirits, whether they are in tangible form, whether they are in book form from wise writings of our past teachers, finding this tender space where we can learn and still engage in finding compassion for the awkwardness of our imperfection. This is the journey. This is the practice of yoga living. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to begin again. Begin again today by remembering not only the simple practices of eating and drinking well, of sleeping well, but integrating movement and breathing and mindfulness as often as I can. Of asking for touch. For me, it often looks like a hug. I ask for a hug. My favorite is from my son. Why? Because I know that it's an edge for him, and so every time he willingly initiates or responds to my request, it feels like a double sign of his love for me. Learning something new, cultivating rewarding friendships. This is the circle, right? The support. Finding time for play, for doing something for the joy of it. And finally, intentionally choosing acts of service. And this is where it comes full circle. Because in our self-care practice, it is not just about the service going out. It is also about the service coming in. The service we give ourselves and the service we allow ourselves to receive. I want to challenge you to take a look at your self-care practices and how much of your self-care is recovery and how much of your self-care is proactive, preventive. Can you bring them into greater balance? We'll always have needs to recover from events, experiences, things outside of our control. But the more that we can do our self-care intentionally and proactively, the easier that recovery will be. And the shorter time and loss of our momentum will sway us away from our path and bring us back into the union of living in alignment. Thanks so much for letting me share a little bit about my own self-care, the challenges, the hurdles, and the strategies in which I can be more successful to live in greater ease and alignment by integrating yoga into everything I do. It's all yoga. Take care of you. Take care of those around you. Hold them close. May you breathe deeply and move freely. Labor lovingly so that you may live vibrantly. Namaste.